There's a bear so big and white, dancing in the Arctic night. Do the polar bear groove, slide to the left. Do the polar bear groove, give a little heft. Shake your paws, spin around, stomp your feet on the icy ground.
Okay, kung minyo siya tigit no Washaybeyoh. Ano sto Washaybeyoh niya ano kinagasunishit na gutta sa Bepo nagak. James and Washaybeyoh miso po hanggang taktan po kay asko gimen mugashigi siya kanetano start pineto kunano miso no chima nagana miso chikmistet tande po kay miso ande po isitay hinsta nesta netiga gindegi dostiga kauni magak peigo kinagasit nisho kinagasit Venenoski kan mayor tago siya gini Mateo. Away na kani ko anta ni state at saka dito kaya hita tignostimas kam gustina wachi mga gustina amse. Ano sa ko magendo tame kan sa minya na niyo kan kasi wachi mise git no ego tite hegi bechan mo tsaka tektan mo tsaka te Wabusk ko jan mo mistik. Weeneebeg te wi tabi ko jan mo tabi ko gi bechi mehetak. So good morning everyone. Welcome back to our show, our New Year show, January 8 today. So what we'll do this morning, we'll let Vicki introduce herself, and then we'll take it from there. Go ahead.
Hi, all. Good morning. And George, thanks for bringing me on the show today. Always nice to start the year off with talking about some of the research that we're working on here in our territories, Mushkegowuk area. And so who am I? I'm the Knowledge and Research Manager. I work for Lands and Resources Department of Mushkegowuk Council, and my office is down here in Timmins.
Ego bisoga chimo ko na, yoshko po na gusto. Ego Vicki gagi windesot. Ego itaktan na batet binena na nagatestade goma kaisin na to basta tege ko kaisin yung mga Venenoski kete hikuyashi shiminog nesto ko tage ko na mena peste itak ko magi ko ego na mena gian mo ta na sa gisibat.
Yes, we know definitely Wabusk or polar bears are of great interest to people that live on the coast, both James Bay and Hudson Bay here in Ontario. And we began a research program last year in 2025. And I'd just like to review what happened last year and then talk about what is coming ahead.
Kagi imagine notice that you go in not to skin to one and not to skin Mr. Wabusk. Ego magat the battle to that you guys need to me out and act people a bit to which I take chicky skin to make that get to chatting is you can take it.
So I'm going to show a few slides. This first one here has quite a bit of text, which I'll apologize for, but I'll talk about it. The rest of the slides don't have so much, and we'll go through them over the next little while. Yeah, so to start, the polar bear study that's happening in James Bay and southwestern Hudson Bay. It's a 3-year study. It began last year, 2025, and it'll continue until 2027, at least in regards to the funding that we have right now. And like with most research projects, you have to apply for funding, and we were able to obtain support from the Weston Family Foundation for Northern Biodiversity.
Kapag natin gusto na gawain sa estado ko maduro tsaka connection yan hite kitchen nagabi on hite higagiyos misko tsaka ne kami no connection yan.
So we start off with our research big question. So how will continued climate change, climate warming affect polar bears and their prey in the James Bay area?
Ego te tante giotsi na tugisken de Mushkegowuk gotsi tante ge higagotsi tugiskaya gasimiste heski tante magiru tachik na tugisken Mushkegowuk Wabusk.
So to answer that question, we have a few different parts of the research. The first one here is to learn more about what they do when there's no sea ice. So during the ice-free season in summer and fall, what do they eat? Where do they go? Do they get skinny? Are they fat? Do they still have lots of cubs with them? Do the cubs survive over that ice-free season?
Kumagi uskakigwana ina tugisken chigati ego kiskuna chigisken mechitani snichuge gogo ke gon gam kuskati hegutikta biskut kiapechitawe anipi nesta poco maskomi anhetto gigon tadishna kusoge taditishigishigani nesta magina tugisken mechik tadishnichuge bepune ke gon bemant soge chik ke gon michik Nesta guy speech to get it was gonna swag and nesta book attached to walk, nesta book applicant and she can imagine to go Thomas Cushman, they one hit to go and to his kids.
So I guess, why is that of concern? Well, we know that polar bears, they spend most of their time out on the sea ice on James Bay, Hudson Bay, and other areas where they live in the world. And that's where their primary food sources, the ring seal. So they're out there as long as the ice exists, and then they have to come on shore when the sea ice melts. And we know the sea ice season is getting shorter, and we also know that the bears are on shore longer on the coast. So how is this affecting their overall population and health?
Kaishi aquatic nesta bogation nesta wakigon kaya batastati mi choge CP CP hite and the go salmon di hit and is a no batsgat in the gift man to soge kai tishiki shigan tan is tadish over the case to go sky and Christino Gigomaga abatastati go Wabusk.
And then also there's interest in knowing what that last bit of sea ice, we're calling it the remnant sea ice, that stays, towards, we're getting into July, and offshore the ice is getting a smaller area, it's getting chunkier. The bears are not quite on shore yet, so are they being successful, hunting prey, hunting seals out there or whales on those small pieces of ice? So that's one of the questions. How good are they doing when they're on that little bit of last ice?
Ego ma mine go strong and but take traditional go na maskamita biskot kaya but had to go nesta ma tante moeste she kigonga mi choge no but take kigon is tabat static kigon gyot ma to soge chigiti higabit chigioche I thought the kigona tabiskoto maskamita biskot no but take no method Ego big week, Danny speak that dick must come here take Mr. Taddy Giochi, the last coaching institute of Mount Hogget to go must come here, guys, speak that it needs to my economic take Taddy Giochi, Damino Hutchik, economic Tamagashi at the Bagasi didn't have to go must come here.
Also, there's the question about the bears in James Bay itself. Are they unique? Do they just stay in James Bay? How much do they move out into Hudson Bay? So that's also a question.
Nesta magi gnobatga dik tanta moesti tasnyoge tabshude gnobattaman Weeneebeg hitte kaisit tasnuiching Washaybeyoh istagna buandaski nesta bogtanis pitani no heshigutotyoga gesti binete tawjite kaisit tasnuiching economy gana togiskinzgati.
Of course, the questions that I've talked about are primarily from, the biologist point of view, the manager point of view, but we also want to start delving into questions that Cree have and their knowledge as well. So the other component of our research is to incorporate Cree knowledge into the overall understanding of polar bears in James Bay and Hudson Bay.
Ego kana na togis kenta hektani shuri maganaskino Nästa ujaasisagana naattuukiskin maatsikristino magainaapattehtego viihtampukan diittehevistino epakussiinimistikkaanakatsahatsik Wabusk inino kiutno hittehegaisinakatsistaatsigooni tuutsikaatik reguhogigonagaamuunagaattegeinaattuukiskin aujaasis.
We know as well, and we've heard many times, that there's concern about public safety, bears being on shore longer, moving up the rivers into the communities, and also challenges at camps on the coast. So there's concern, wanting to look at ways to make sure people are safe, but also make sure bears are safe too. And we'll be asking people more about that part of the project.
Kumaga ikanovattamme vuoditte Mushkegowuk kananaattuukiskinsigaattiugutti tinanaagatistaan tinanaagatsihetsikkuinakanak kaihtaatsikistaunik nestapugu asittikiskinamukigitaattakusikikuwapaskok nestoodin tahkiksipia kuhumaagikonakananaattuukiskinsigaattiignistakaiduhtiitsikaisittasiikiigmigoodin taminohiik Tuentaagut tinanaagatistaan ikaistituuttaavikujaasiisak Nestamasaat tuentaagut tinanaagattoomistikustino Wabuskok kuhumaagikonakiisikakutsikimunanu miina takusnanu hikitestaunoostipitnaattuukiskinsigaattiik kistikinootaniisi kiskinimeguk Wabuskok.
Great, thank you, George. And also, of course, all of this, we want to help, all the information should help with decision making, management about the bears, managing, interactions on the ground, but also, to help. It's not just for, scientific curiosity, but also to contribute to well-being overall.
Kumaagakisaasun tuutsigaattiike wawiitistoigue kistikinoagikoninanaattuukiskinsigaattiik tantimaakituutsigaattiiki mootsipitsigaattiik nanaattuukiskintamu tantikiituuttamah tinanaattuukiskintamah taapiskuutinanaattuukiskinmu Wabuskok tantikiittiisaapattisigatsigaattiik muuniinapukutsimutsinaatttuukiskinmissik taaniissunioagikomiitsuagi tantimaakituuttohuk tsikakuypinaatsaako kistigan Wabuskok tantikiituuttamah ispi
Thank you. So I'll just talk a little bit about the study area for the overall research project. I have a map showing here in the slide, and the areas that are colored dark green and also the blue shows the total study area. And I guess what here I want to emphasize that the project goes across the bay, not just our side on Ontario, but also to the Quebec side. With the EU Cree, we are working very closely with the organizations over there, the people there, and also the province of Quebec too.
Waassuqagaisnao kandiittigaisnao kana ewaasiskokanamagamasnaattiuguttiinttiginisttuinao eguukuagaamisnittigaihtaatsikituuttiminok iu istiittigaihtaatsikinoguistinao uguumutuutsikaattiniginnaattuugiskinmimistuistinao Wabuskognistumagaisistai.
And then I have another map up there just for information purposes to show, I guess, where the bears fit into the big picture of the worldwide distribution of bears. You can see at the bottom of that picture it says SH, that's Southern Hudson Bay polar bear population. That's the population our bears are in. And then you can see around the globe there are many other populations of bears that are managed, and those are considered the management units that are used.
Minä vaavattamega teitte huonommattiniskettihegaisemmas naavaskettehtapaatta huomattuvaatsumun kaavattinaan teittehegaisepäpeisessä hegaattiiku täyntänestiisenä nägattihetsekmissöipuko kaispistaskamiga kumaaskihkäisistäeh egoalmen teitteheihtäätse Wabuskokn sapasismaagistigiaan ehtokananta taapiskuut vaavattamagad me teitte Washaybeyoh nistamaga kuuma James Bay teke ko tan distance mas na Wabusk teke ko man tan taisna na ga chest Wabusk.
And I also wanted to show this because you can see southern Hudson Bay, the James Bay bears. They're the most southerly bears in the world, and they are thought to be the bears that will show the greatest impact of climate change the earliest. So that's why the research here is particularly important in the big picture to answer some of those questions about polar bears and climate change.
Ego na natugas kini Mushkegowuk Wabusk. Utti negatiivne standi teke wisti no tani shipmatis sik etu teke to switch he gudano ni natugas kini gatega umaga ko batamak gatega ko iskayak miswe bugo gutani ni stotti negatiivne tandi yochigis kini damak tichi iskayak ya patche chigisti no Wabusk.
So I went over the questions and sort of the objectives of what the project is about, but what are we really doing? Like, what's happening on the ground? What is the research doing? And one of our themes, I guess, with the project is that we're bringing knowledge just together in our methods and the analyses and interpretation of the information that's collected.
Kikono siluttamek umaga kana natugas kindamek. Umaga ispi natugas kinjagatik which hewe maganiga gwetmistik kana gatastatic askino. Chigyostuma tubitsagatik egome mamos negatik kigonis jettugiska gochi chigyostumaskot wihtamagiach tandeship maddigo Wabusk.
So you can see in this graphic here, there's in the field, the things that we're doing out there. We do have a community-based research part of it, where we're going out to set up hair snare or snag stations to collect hair from bears. We use that for the genetic analysis. At the same time, collecting additional hair samples, we use some aerial biopsy, which happens from a helicopter. So kind of bringing these more like the research tech, I guess the helicopter, the scientific side, and then bringing the community-based collection of information together.
Chikiyochimagas nagot sagaskutti nagupigin ditehigon pigig tutsigati natugiskin mit minagutagi gonda biskut nangais natugiskin chigati umuhuya patistano nagnistobogi on gamichit kigon gamichit ditehi gonistomas novas kohagon nagnistobogo antiurtabas kohagon kagidonas kupanagitehi chikiyochina natugiskin chigati awatnista. And then no time when you have just down to get to the cementation, I was at Nistamagatai, Kigon, she and I was at Wabusk.
So those hair samples are good for genetics, just like our own DNA. If you send your DNA to hair sample to get analyzed, we can tell a lot about the bears from the DNA, who they're related to, but also from their hair, we can find out what they've been eating, so the diet, and that's of great interest. How much are the bears feeding in the summertime? What are they feeding on? Are they eating caribou, fish, seals that they find on the shore? Are they eating whales, the beluga whales? So the hair is very important for the sampling.
Kigon abatstan kigon ustsabaniganta kuittamago maga tandiottaskanit nistatanit hetto kigon nistama kigon gamichit kigon he wittamago tsaganit hespina tugiskinta egiskona tugiskimaga enagotsagatina opio go wabasagatan mautsagiskinchagatik tantioschi yottaskanit nistabuita shoga nistabugo awat kigon gamichoge.
Also, we're putting out those camera traps along with the barbed wire hair snares, and we use the photos to check their body condition. So again, are they fat? Are they skinny? How many cubs do they have when we get pictures of them?
Ögünüstü kobat nandit he pakitningatti masnobiskegat he masnobiskot kiskinjigatti magatan dostikiskin maaganoge tähtsbugeniste buskanisugenisti magatantattu shittantattu wabaskusha ayaage wabask.
And then also another way to bring the knowledge together is we could do knowledge interviews with people in each of the communities, both on the Ontario coast and also in Quebec. They're doing the same thing over there at Weeneebeg. And so what do people, their observations, their experiences, historical relationships with bears, use of bear fur or bear meat, and where do they see the bears? Have things changed over time? All of those questions and other topics that people wish to talk about when it comes to Wabusk.
Gumagawichige maganinato giskinjigatti missugigon. Missunhani gogwitchimestante shomagwe wabasko nitin Instagram kaitachiga wishtuino. Egoni tutta hegena nato giskinta hegnesta magawin hanga michuge wabasko michumino nesta wayanda ni rotochik tante shopamatic and hetto gigona gono magagigon Gomagawitchegutchingesta ginon tuita make tante shopata me gomato gigon guy shomistu wabasko.
Right, so a little less text here. I just want to show you some of the things that we did last year. Sorry, I see a typo there, but I'm already in 2026. But last year in June 2025, we did do a training session in Mushkegowuk, and a group of us went over. You can see a picture there of the entire group. There were people, again, from Weeneebeg and also from Mushkegowuk territory, and then also Pewanik and Fort Severn. We went over there, had training, how to set up the hair snag stations, the cameras, and how to handle the information.
Nakuattaganot niistä kiisikäsitteeni upi Wabasi kun me teitte hegiotsiok agame hitte niistä mä kun teitte heisitte hepiä kiistävistä niin kiskomaartsik niistä kun mä kaupatte me kaikki kiskomaarsa Wabamukusta kaitsekätte ja kun teini kaitotte kiistä niistä mä kiitos tähtään maassa niistä mä pianko että kiskomaarja huomattu kiitos että Chiginat to how we just started Chiginat to skin with Wabas.
Change here. So this year, or last year, 2025, we did set up some hair snag stations. We began up on the Weeneebeg River, and you can see Mike and Greg there. I worked with them to set up a station, and then I set up 2 more. We also, Fort Severn also set up some stations. Chris Kostashin and Levius Miles worked on that, and we were able to also do a training and then also set up a station with Moose Cree up just north of the Moose River. We were hoping to make efforts in the other communities as well, but just logistics and other things made it not possible. But we did get all the equipment to Wabusk and Kasheshwan, so we're ready to go there this year.
Patrick did the piano book, to always while we tell in a static of Gomagaish, Nanato skin with Wabusk, and got the Negato Tahiti in CB. Nesta Magandi Tehewasho Hagiti, Kagiti, Totetic, Libius Mouse, Nesta Chris Costatin, Yavas, the Mavanavistino, Gato Tahin, and that dog skin Matrigashi, and that dog skin Mr. Wabusk, Hotel, Nesta most human store, he be cheat of Tilk. Bet Robert the Master Vistino and Gato Tigatic. Pepunok Pepunemescanach, keep on with a town of an Agotagia, have a town at Chigitos 8 to a town of Gazetun, his sat Robus Hato Hete, Agora mage totchagate gaswi but not that mopis chagate uche not Thomas chicken kind of goes to know what chigirote.
And I forgot to mention, when I was working with Miss Cree, we went out with Derek Moses and Daryl Isaac.
Agora gani shuga girote chig muspite he Daryl Isaac nestamaga Derek Moses and Daryl Isaac. Agora gani shabat chagan gani take most minister.
Yeah, and we did have people trained from both Wabusk and Sheshwan, but just with the way things went, we didn't start, but looking forward to getting going this year in both communities.
Asat tinatapon is tigi maski kiskula mo ko but ato basket investigation tuna but changa sa gatat we patate matre begate tigit no stano kuma batson.
And then also just to reiterate, this part of the study will continue in 2026 and 2027 and hopefully beyond all along James Bay and Hudson Bay coast.
We tabugan dito he pagkusin mo mas ko jet na kapan ko magay totchagatik tapos ko tumaga po mi mapipuhe ko tadi application stano kuma batson.
So I'll just talk a bit about the aerial surveys that we did of the late season sea ice. We did this work in July last year.
Ako matpegwe ko but chagatik mas kumigas na to kiskini matnista tani spita tumigan heto spita gito ke mas kumigas sige matse ko ko pagpepuno.
So just a few images here to show you what the methods were like. We used a twin otter aircraft. That's the Ministry of Natural Resources aircraft.
Ako magabat tumig takachip and chigum kamina magagyabatistan o amiskay tahik.
And you can see there's a map there with lots of stripes on it. Those are the transects that we followed, so those lines. So we did a lot of flying on the bay, on the ice, and those transects are overlaid on a sea ice, a map of the sea ice for that time period of July 2nd.
Ako mo pasko bisam kiba pa man ako pandite ke egno batsigate ke na tay sobat me goma mas komi ko ke egno batsarita ni sna go so ke mas komi ego tanda guys na to kiba pa man ako ke goma mas no bus ke ni mo tu na to ba to mo dite ke.
You can see there was two parts of the survey. One part we had the people observing, and you can see a photograph of some people looking out the window there. And we had more people than that. There were people up front too looking. But we also had cameras taking picture, both a regular camera and an infrared camera stuck through the hole in the plane, taking photos as we went.
Ego mago come go ka pichigam na makaita chigi go ne ka gi baba ite chik e baba mas no bus ka go istino guys kai tot ma ke go ma guys ka no bus ka tekni piga te guys guys ya ko te ke ani shini ma ke go na wistio ga te ma mas no bus ke chik.
We did have a community observer come with us from Pewanak last year. This coming year, because it was a bit of a test last year to see how the methods were working, and we were able to bring a person with us, I think on 1 or 2 days. But next year, I mean, the survey did take 5 to 6 days. We hope to have more observers from community. We'll train them and have them with us so that they can experience what the survey is like.
Ako ni gante he pa ko sino mo gya batista chignista ya bates chigane kana chigi o batna ma chigi go andani so chigi ma he ga shia ko te kai shima ma bu po ge no ka mas komi e o batme go di te ta me no singe stina tro batme go ma ni gante he ta mo tuna na mi mo bistiga te gite sta no chigi stigina chigi ki go me to ta te o batme tan de mo che to chigate.
I guess part of it, with any research, it's a little bit experimental. So this year it was the experimental year for the aerial survey. It worked quite well, and you can see here just an example of one of the photographs. We did see bears, we saw the kills, In the one photo you can see there's some red there, and you can also see the polar bear in the close-up. Just it's a little bit fuzzy, of course, but we did see bears out there, and they were killing seals. So really important evidence that those chunks of ice are still real important feeding places.
Gagi papaminatsi kanobatsi me gagi shima snobas kagane me gadi paminatsi. Kitchitauti teke gobattinonista Wabusk teke no distigate gi minhut egi ne pahataka ko go no gobatte me gadi so obvious negati.
And I did forget to mention with the hair snake work that was done in Port 7 and Weeneebeg, we did collect a lot of hair samples. So those samples, so again, a little bit experimental, but there was success, and which is fantastic. And those samples will be sent off for analyses at the University of Alberta.
Tutsatik Washaybeyoh nista pianogo. Kibes tsamo panagashino gi mahtu bitte imperial Wabusk teke. Ego magana segano battame kiabenu tstano na tagisitsegati miswe nedi teke taisitsegati gitsnaga behanu gitsnana togiskendo mon kiskona togomik. Alberti teke tadi gitsgendo magati bitti vitmagona gishko kigonga miskati.
One of the other super important and highlighted components of our study is the Cree knowledge aspect. We did get started last year, and we began up in Weeneebeg and Fort 7. That was in part because the team was up there already to do the aerial survey, and the researcher was with us, so it just worked logistically. And she set up community advisory groups to help guide her work and the questions, and she did a lot of interviews in both places. And this coming year, the research team will move to James Bay communities.
Gagi mobista gutsegan hindi gagi bechinan togiskinda Wabusk isinyoge tadeta organistan hito gone kito tamage mautsipetatu in kana tsigagin gone bitsik tigetnutstano kiachigeni gante huma betsun.
And of course, to start, we'll introduce the project to each of the nations, the community and council, look at setting up a community-specific advisory group to help guide the work, and then, as is possible, conduct interviews over the next probably, I would say, year, but there's quite a few communities in James Bay, so it'll take a bit of time.
Owenestano kagin wana pitsikama ke wawi start to go yigestre begati go magigon to get the root to Mahatia but to go in a hanigi to wawi start to get out to his skin Mr. Wabusk take it. No magestais panus as I would dig to Missy, Mr. Magan Hanigo go to Magan and out to his skin to Mabatis.
Great. Just a couple of more things just to highlight. Coming up very soon, the 20th to the 22nd of January, we're bringing together Cree land users and knowledge holders and also managers to the James Bay Polar Bear Knowledge Sharing Workshop.
Okay, Gumako Tike, Kobatino Tike, Nigan Tike, the mouth to be talon like a mechanic, Chiganova Chigateke Guma. Jan Mutsateke na Togiskin Mushkegowuk Wabusk, would it take him, Monsieur Weeneebeg, take it, Tabuscote, Kaisin Nagastai, Monsieur Jimamu with the Mahagita, Taimon, Chiginavana Page and that Togiskin the Makewana, Danishna, which Abbott the Simenton hit take Ean Momus check Ego Wabusk, Nishitanoga Nagasite, Nishitanisho, Ego Pisum, they take Montreal, Quebec, they should go to that tune, and now they dog in the Hanak. And the Hangate of Tahisagadi take Jan Togiskin Jatiguma, Kinagona Behetwin.
We're pretty busy right now doing the final planning. Mushkegowuk Council is in a collaboration with the EU Marine Region Wildlife Board in co-hosting the workshop. We have good representation from each of the communities on the Ontario side, James Bay and Hudson Bay, and also from the west side of the bay too. So it's going to be fantastic to bring people together to share their observations, their knowledge, their concerns, and how they would like to see future research proceed.
Kumaga kanobattamega sitti kiisistat maotsipettak eweinastat iguminagi maotsihedutsagalitihe kumaga kayapatjahitsiktaapaskuututiittihigiyuttunakoortiitsikniittinista kitsigiyuttunakattihe emamupitastigugu kananakatistaatikaakaskuhutsigawinakhanaki anuumaawaaspanuavasko tinaattuukiskinimitsigistamaga kihtauntamunoyaapatistana yaoaukikakitsihimuna tanisniitsukuttoopaskomoigukuhuttuigoonikiiluutsigatiiktianmuutsigatiigi.
Excellent. Okay, one more topic. And this is one kind of survey that's to come. This will happen only once during the overall study, but as I mentioned before, one of the main food sources for polar bears are ring seals, and yes, they get them mostly on the sea ice, but I think there's possibly a little bit of off sea ice foraging, eating. But this spring, exact dates to be determined. It'll depend on the sea ice conditions, but in April or May in 2026, there'll be an aerial ring seal survey.
Tapos kumaskutaattamaatsapanipaniskipisimistapako anikipisip nikanopatsikaattiki aakkakokaanmumistiktaan tiisiittaihtaanisinniorganistu tiigoonikittui aakkakokutti kaawaawiinaaqonakuussuioottui ikoonitkikinanaattukiskinimitsikegu aakkakokatiittihikaisiistaih taattamaatsapanumakasau taattamaa niskipisimistunni anikipisip.
The Department of Fisheries and Oceans will be leading this survey effort, and they will use a twin otter as well to fly over the sea ice. And you can see in that map the transects, those blue lines across James Bay. They'll also go up a bit further out of James Bay around the Senekilowak Belcher Islands and up there.
Mamaka nuutustaatsiki koko aapatsahaganakattegiortsipanuhutsigaisinanaattuukiskintahekkimissuigoon atskiinnipiikanuutastigitsikaapatsahaganagigogo kiinnigaanusataatsugumaapatсisuunuk toavitsoorgununagmaaganiittiinaattuukiskinimaatsigiguhu aahego kaisuapattamahmagaaniittihegaiisiipiakinaanu taapuskuutiguma Weeneebeg nista Washaybeyoh ittihegu taantagiisui nanaattuukiskinimitсig missuitsipapaapanaanuh tiginaattuukiskinimitсig aahakok nistaawatniittihagaamih nistniittigi askiimiorskiihittihegutinin kiisku nanaattuukiskinimitсig missui aahakok.
The exact timing of the survey, it'll depend on how things are going with the seals, but the survey happens when the seals are on the ice, after they have had their pups, and their snow dens after the snow dens have melted and fallen apart. So this is the best time to be able to see the adults and the young on top of the sea ice. But in general, April, May.
Kumaga kisaastat paattimaataginanaattuukiskinimaagoonakispiit kiisko ukossusuogogo aahakoknistamagispiittihittihi ukutaantapaattaagiisimanupaniktisaattuukiskinimitсig
DFO will be hiring local observers as well, so from the nation. So I'll be sending out information about that if people are interested in participating. There is potential. There is a training requirement, but I'll send out those details. And if people are interested, please let us know.
Tatu ichagatiu, Awinahan Chigiti Abat Haganon Chigistino Chigiwawi Startic Chigi Gomadu Chigatege, that the Bete Vichagatu Shagamaga the Dream Dagonist Chigiskonoma Greek Chigi Bate Nagatistak, Omagana but Songino to Stan Shagamaga the Bete Witten to get the Witamagui to get the Skandamic Tanti Gios Chigi Gomatu Abat the Sun.
And that's the end of my longer tale than I expected. But this slide here shows a whole bunch of logos. This polar bear research project came about because of all of these collaborators bringing their minds together with us to submit that funding proposal and to implement the project. So I always want to acknowledge there's a big team out there that works with us all the time and really supports research in the Mushkegowuk region.
Ego Gomese, but the Megadoget Basabasket, Kawa, we just start to go on to Gido Chagat, taking that dog is getting mystic. Cano just to get CP Mino, Giotino Hiteke, Washaybeyoh, and start Weeneebeg Hiteke. Akamakhaski, Melski, Hegogamaga, just starting we go still Magana. I go on about time in the Panigaspi, Mamu, but take up at we tap at the cement 20 that took a skindamach.
Thank you. If there's any questions, happy to take them. If not, I guess thanks for joining us. Always great to be able to share what we're up to.
Thank you again, and perhaps we can do another show in terms of the outcome, the involvement, stuff like that. That'll be good to hear, and it's really interesting. It's really nice to actually know that polar bears, for people that actually know there's a lot of polar bears out there, plus the seals. A lot of them are up in the north, and I can see a lot of people don't know what they live on, how many pups they have, all the stuff like that, right? But it's good to hear.
Definitely.
Thank you again.
Well, thank you. Take care. Happy New Year.
The chilly breezes blow, lives a bear so big and wide.